I often will go to like Wednesday day games, which is something I couldn't do before, which are kind of my favorite games to go to, or like midweek day games.
That was news cameraman Josh Keppel. I'm Jeff, and this is Storied San Francisco. Every week, this podcast features photographers, artists, musicians, business owners, and other San Franciscans talking about living, working, and doing their thing here. It's a way to get to know your neighbors. Welcome to episode 25, part 2. In part 1, Josh talked about the day in 2001 when he was lucky enough to have captured Barry Bonds' record-setting 73rd home run of the season. But a dispute between two fans ended up in a court case that lasted more than a year. In this episode, Josh will talk about that case and a documentary movie he helped make about it. This podcast is the first in a series of episodes we'll be doing over the course of the baseball season as the Giants celebrate their 60th year in San Francisco. Here's Josh.
So the story just kind of got stranger and stranger as the more we kind of dove into it. So basically what ends up on our news is kind of like, hey, here's the guy that ended up with the ball, the Bay Area's newest millionaire. And no one really had the time to do the story about the controversy.
Right.
And so then the next day in our meeting at work about what stories are we going to cover, someone comes into the meeting and is like, Josh and Ted are in the newspaper about this baseball thing. And the Chronicle had written a story about the one guy saying that he caught it and the other guy ending up with it, and actually saying that we had video that showed that he caught it. And so we were like, well, can we do that story today?
Right.
So we ended up reaching out to both parties, and that kicked off what I think ended up being like an 18-month court case.
Wow.
And during the course of that court case is when all the steroid stuff came out, and people just really didn't care for Barry Bonds much anymore. And it really was, you could almost look at it like the whole thing came crashing down.
But also in that time, the Giants went to the World Series and came really fucking close to winning it.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true. Crazy time.
Yeah, it was, and I covered that. Was it all 7 games of that World Series? And that was heartbreaking. That game,
yes,
game 6.
We won't talk about that anymore.
Man, I know. Thank God we have
hindsight.
Good years.
We have some really awesome hindsight.
So basically, there were a bunch of lawyers, and they were arguing ownership over the ball. One thing that I found amusing was that, they had to come up with something to reference the videotape, which each side claimed proved their side was right.
So prime evidence.
Yeah, exactly. And which is all I, didn't know much about property law. And it was interesting to really kind of get to dive into this case and see oh, wow, each side is saying that the same piece of video is proving their case. Which just shows you each side can have their own perspective and interpretation on things. And so
were there any issues around them obtaining the video?
No. At the time that it was filmed, our station was a few months away from becoming the NBC affiliate for the Bay Area. And we were just an independent station.
Oh, got it.
That not a lot of people knew about. So our bosses agreed to essentially give this videotape out to everyone who wanted it at all the stations, because this was going to be a big story we were going to be following for a long time. And we put, a little logo of ours on there, kind of like, hey, everybody. And so, so they could have just recorded it off the news, or I don't remember if they may have subpoenaed the state. I think I got subpoenaed. It was, I didn't have to testify or anything, but they probably got a copy from us, if not from us, from just the TV.
Right.
But so they ended up calling the video the Keppel tape. And so it would be hilarious when I would be there covering the court case in the courtroom with my TV camera standing like in the jury box, and they're saying my name over and over in court.
I mean, does this ever happen? Like, the whole thing with camera people is that they're behind.
Right.
They're not the story.
Yeah. No, it was very unprecedented.
Yeah.
And
so many new precedents.
Yeah.
All over.
So this court case dragged on and on and on through the World Series. And I mean, it was like actively happening. You could watch the court case in the daytime and a World Series game at night. Go back to the court case the next day.
Wow. You were the main camera person covering it?
So I just kind of covered it on big days.
Okay.
But shortly after this whole thing happened with the ball getting hit, a guy contacted me maybe a couple weeks after it happened and said, "Hey, I want to interview you for a documentary that I'm making about this baseball thing." And I have always wanted to make documentaries, and a former colleague of mine, when he heard about this story, was like, "Oh my gosh, you should make a documentary about this. Like, this is perfect." So I started saving anything that I would do while covering the story. And if anyone was going to cover the story, it was always going to be me. Mm-hmm. So I had, a little treasure trove of video that I just collected, because normally after a week we just tape over stuff and it's gone forever. Right. So I thought, I'm going to just kind of hang on to this stuff. So I ended up partnering up with this director who wanted to make a movie about it. And I said, well, here's the deal. I also want to make a movie. I've been saving all this stuff. Let's do it together. And I still have to work my regular job, so you can kind of like take over doing the stuff that I couldn't do because I'm working.
Right.
So we had a couple other people who would help shoot stuff, and so on big days I would go cover it for my work, and it was the people who were, I actually just last week ran into someone who was one of the people in the scrum, which were all just random people that just happened to be standing there at the time.
I would think fairly diehard fans there on a last game of the season.
Yeah.
Did they make the playoffs that year?
I don't think so.
I don't
think there was any.
They did
playoffs.
In 2000.
The next year was the year they went to the World Series.
But I would think the last game of the season of a team that's not really going anywhere. Right. They're there for the team, and then they're there to see Barry Bonds maybe hit. There ended up being this almost fraternity of people who all just happened
survivors. Yeah, exactly. Happened to be at this place at this time when this event happened, and I was in Yountville a week ago, and someone said, "Hey, Josh," and it was one of the guys that was there who, 16, 17 years later, I'm running into.
So how do they know you?
So they know me because because I made this documentary, basically. Right. So we ended up spending a lot of time together, and then when the movie ended up being in theaters, so we'd do Q&As afterwards, and all the people were lovely. I mean, this guy, Doug, he has a dental practice in Crockett. Mm-hmm. And
love Crockett.
One of my favorite scenes in the movie is of Doug drilling this lady's teeth and talking to the camera. Like, yes. I just wanted to get video of him working,
Yeah.
But he's just kind of like, oh, the camera's there. I gotta tell him what's going on. So he's drilling this lady's teeth and is like talking about the story of the baseball, and she's just amazing. Sitting there, can't do anything about it, probably does not care about it at all.
Yeah.
And it's so funny. So all of these people ended up testifying in court, and each person has their own perspective on what happened. Right. And one of the critics from Variety or Sports Illustrated or something said it was like Rashomon with an O. Henry twist, where you look at the same story through all these different perspectives. Mm-hmm. And one person is claiming that they got bit in the leg and then you go look at the video and it looks like this kid is actually bit in the leg.
Oh my God.
And it's fascinating to me to spend so much time examining this like 2 minutes of video, because you can just follow one person through the whole thing and kind of try and figure out, okay, this is what they're seeing, and this is why they didn't maybe see this other thing, because they had their head pointed this way. And yeah, it's surreal, the whole thing. So the court case, it's funny because normally I wouldn't give away what happened when I'm talking to people about this, because I made this movie that it's kind of suspenseful, because you're wondering what ends up happening. Mm-hmm. But at this point, it's hard to find the movie, so I no longer feel bashful about giving away the ending, and you can just look it up.
Right.
But yeah, so after an 18-month court case,
and this is a state case.
Yeah, we're all, it's, Judgment Day comes, and we're all there waiting to see what happens. Mm-hmm. And the judge does the thing that no one is expecting, where he basically says that the two people fighting over this baseball both have equal ownership over it, and the ball's to be sold and the profits are to be split between them. Which, for when we were making a movie about it, it felt kind of like, oh, what happened to our ending?
Right.
Like, that's no ending.
It's like, it's probably the fair thing to do, but it sucks for the story.
Right. Yeah. It's like,
thanks, Your Honor.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, so if this was a baby, we just cut it in half and one side gets one. But then it ended up, then it was so strange how they then kind of, the two guys who were fighting over it for a year and a half, then all of a sudden kind of had to be friends together.
Dollar signs.
Yeah, exactly. And like, oh yeah, no, this is great, and we're just, because now it's like, okay, now let's see how much money we can get for this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's this kind of tainted ball for the last 18 months that everyone just loved to hate,
mm-hmm.
Because they're like, oh my gosh, what are these guys doing? Just give it to the Hall of Fame or give it to Barry Bonds. Why are you spending 18 months paying for lawyers to fight over this thing?
Right.
So it ends up going to this auction in New York City, and gets, the Barry Bonds, the Mark McGwire ball sold for like $3 million.
Wow.
So that was the price tag that people were kind of going to the baseball park that Sunday afternoon thinking, I'm going to get $3 million if I catch this baseball. It ended up selling for like $400,000 something.
Wow.
Like less than $500,000. Yeah. And part of that was, I think people were just sick of this story. Mm-hmm. People didn't like Barry Bonds anymore. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of like a perfect storm of doom for the profitability of this ball.
I wonder if $200,000 would cover each of their lawyer fees at that point.
It totally did not.
I was going to say.
Wow. And I remember...
maybe for the first 3 months. But
yeah,
but
exactly.
Not the last 15.
Right.
Jesus.
And yeah, I remember Ted, my reporter, just saying, oh my gosh, I'm so happy I didn't end up with that ball. Because at first he was thinking I was right there. Like, and then once you step away, you're like, all right, I was working. I couldn't have kept it anyway. But, we watched this whole thing happen. It's like, wow, this really was kind of like a cursed ball.
Right.
Like it just, everything that happened around it didn't seem to be a good thing.
That's a better story than the judgment. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah, and that was another time where we're like, oh no, the ball sold for like almost nothing. Like, it was another time where we're thinking our movie's going to be terrible. No one's going to care. But when you kind of step back and look at it all, it's like, yeah, well, it's just kind of a karmic retribution of, if it was just given away, given back to the Major League Baseball or to the Hall of Fame or something like that, then it probably would have been a very positive experience. But on the other hand, you have this 18-month court case, and then some lawyers end up not getting paid back, and there's other cases that start as a result of that, and it ends up just being this whole snowball, that was completely unpredictable on that day. And we ended up, having a movie come out that kind of chronicled this whole thing, and by the time it was all said and done, I felt like, well, I think foreigners are going to like this because it really makes Americans not look that great. And it's such an American thing, baseball and litigious society. And I don't think I was there for his last
You're
one.
Like, I've served my time.
But I was there for a number of ones after 73, like the 500th, and I think he hit the 500th and 600th maybe. And we were actually there shooting for the film with people from the film who were there, and this fraternity again continued, and these people would then start going to games together, and
nice.
And everyone's always hoping to catch the next Bonds ball.
I love it. They're not deterred. They're just like, we've been through it, but we still want it.
Right. And I'm happy that it seems like Barry's finally getting some love from the Giants after a long time of not. And I mean, that was so exciting when he was playing and hitting home runs like almost every game. I remember just having such excitement when you know, like, okay, he's coming up in the next inning, like I'm just going to kind of keep one eye on the TV, and as soon as he's up, just give full attention. And it was good times. And I'm glad that wasn't the peak of Giants excitement.
Yes, exactly.
Because that 2002 season was rough.
To watch the documentary Josh helped make about the home run and ensuing legal battle over the baseball, go to the Storied San Francisco channel on YouTube, where you'll find Up for Grabs. Music for the podcast is by Otis McDonald, a.k.a. Joe Begale. Film photography is by Michelle Kilfeather. Michelle's photos will be featured in an all-woman photo show called Dreams on Thursday, April 19th at the 1090 Gallery, 1090 Bryant Street in San Francisco. Please remember to follow Storied San Francisco on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. All the episodes and Michelle's photos of storytellers are up on our website, Storied SF. Other ways to listen include Google Play, Stitcher, and Apple Podcasts. You can reach us by email at storiedsf@gmail.com. Thanks for listening. Check back next week to hear San Francisco stories from Mississippi Mike.